Well, hello, strangers. All two or three of you. This is Beacon of Hype, back with you finally after a very, very long layover of vacations, holidays, laziness, you name it. And I'm finally back, and as promised, we're going to continue on with our virtual murder series here from Shannon Gilligan. And we're going to have the third installment of this four cases that we have in front of us. This third one is called Who Killed Brett Penance, the environmental surfer. And it's been so long. I'm hoping that everyone's had all two of you have had a decent time in between videos. They could have made the font smaller. That would have solved that problem. All right. So, one thing to note before we get the ball rolling here. This one, and the fourth installment, actually has a new casting of our assistant, Lucy Farewell. This one, we're going to be introduced to Lucy as portrayed by Shannon Lee. Cheryl Lee. Give me a break here. Cheryl Lee, who many people who hear that name, most likely think of one of the title roles in, or one of the main characters rather, in Twin Peaks. She was basically the whole reason that the series existed, because the show was about this detective trying to solve the disappearance or murder or any number of scenarios going on in a very weird town. And Cheryl Lee played, I think it was Laura Palmer. And as far as I know, I believe she is still with us. Hopefully, I know she was brought back for Twin Peaks when they did their finale season. But in between all that, at some point in the early 90s, she was given this role as Lucy Farewell, who up until now I believe was being played by the game's creator, Shannon Gilligan. So we have a little bit of star power now with our characters here. So we're going to play how to play. We're going to go through again. This is the first installment of this new case. So we're going to go through all the different videos that are presented, especially now that we have a different format a bit, with Cheryl Lee being part of the mix. We do have the same narrator and character for our chief, so at least there is some familiarity here.
90% of the murders solved in the United States are solved within the first 6 hours. This is the premise for solving Brett Penance's death. You have exactly 6 hours on the clock to find out who killed Brett Penance. Every step of your investigation takes a certain number of minutes. A clock in the upper right-hand corner of your screen keeps track of the time you have left. The murder must be solved in 2 stages. The first stage, which you are looking at, provides all the major facts, details, and forensic tests available to you as detective. Report of the murder can be played as many times as you'd like. It provides the facts of the case. It's narrated by your assistant, Lucy Farewell. This is the only component of the game that does not take time off the clock. The crime scene, complete with corpse, has been left by the crime scene team for your examination. You can click on any object on the screen for a closer look. You can also execute a number of forensic exams on any object. Suspects is the place where you can find out more about people with both motive and means, and what they were doing at the estimated time of death. Witnesses provide information and leads on possible suspects and their motives to kill someone like Brett. The interviews were conducted by Lucy and were recorded on video. In alibis, you can access Lucy Farewell's report on each suspect's alibi. Other sources are available for your examination. They include a closer look at Brett's car. You can find out more about his last movements before going to the beach and retracing his route. There's an autopsy report explaining exact cause of death. You can also look at the victim's room to search for additional clues. Non-testimonial evidence is where you'll get a judge's permission to fingerprint all the major suspects, as well as get some other pertinent information like shoe size and the type of car they drive. This allows you to compare results with clues you have found elsewhere. Once you have narrowed down the suspects, you have to face a press conference. You agree to 10 questions. If you answer 7 of them correctly, you can advance to the second stage of the investigation. In this section, you are allowed to interview up to 3 suspects to collect the final pieces of your case. Any one of them may provide that crucial clue that solves the murder. Once you have your man or woman, you can proceed to warrant application. There you must provide the evidence that supports your choice of murderer. The judge may grant you a warrant or deny it. It depends on the strength of your application. Wherever you are in the game, when there are 30 minutes remaining, you will automatically default to the press conference. If you complete it successfully, you can use your remaining time to file a warrant application. Once you have a warrant, you can make your arrest. Like report of the murder, the arrest is free. You may be correct, you may be dead wrong. This is where you find out. And if you aren't right, you still have 20 minutes left. You can try again. Even an incorrect arrest can teach you something. At any point in the game, you can access help for further explanation. Good luck. You can start any time by pressing Begin Investigation.
Okay. So, as you can see, like it's retained a lot of the same format as the 2 previous games we've covered. It's added some layers here and there, which I feel like you see a lot of as we progress through all 4 games. You see how we had so basic of a blueprint with the Sam Rupert case, and then they thought to add other elements to the Magic Death, not just more suspects to interview, but other videos with witnesses and things of that nature. So here's the sheriff or the chief.
Since you only have 6 hours to solve the murder, you must use every minute wisely. Pay close attention to details. How someone says something maybe is as important as what they say. No clue is too small to consider. No clue too small to help you solve the case. As you accumulate facts, try to eliminate suspects. Then pursue those who remain. Although it takes time, it's a good idea to interview most of the suspects up front. This will give you a more complete picture of the murder and the motives that play a part in Brett Penance's death. Remember to review your notes before calling a press conference. The press can ask tough questions, and stupid questions too. You have to be prepared for both. One last thing. Always be on the lookout for a suspect who reveals something they shouldn't know. Now, good luck.
Almost the exact same video or the same hints we were given from our chief in the previous installments, but a little bit more of an upgrade. And clearly, in between the Magic Death and this one, our chief has aged a bit more. Either that or maybe the video quality got clearer. We never knew how old he really was. So, first thing we're going to do, when we hit begin investigation, in the previous one, I believe we used to have the detective icon up on the top of the column here. But now, when you hit begin investigation, I think it gives you the choice off the bat. Yep. So we're going to go with select a murder, and that's scenario number 1. Okay. So again, same kind of breakdown. We're going to get to report the murder, get to view the crime scene, suspects, witnesses, alibis, etc. Much like the Magic Death, again, this has 3 different murderers. However, from this installment into the 4th and final, each murder, depending on which one you choose, each murder has its own set of circumstances. So with the case of Sam Rupert and the Magic Death, which was the murder of Elspeth Haskard, they were all, like, both of them were killed the same way. You just had, obviously with Sam Rupert, you had one single murderer that was the solution. And then in the Magic Death, for all 3 murderers, they all committed the crime the same way. This is going to be different. Depending on which one we have here, I know that we have Brett Penance is murdered in multiple ways. So at least that does kind of change up the variety, and also changes even some elements of alibis. So, some of the things we find out in this scenario, number 1, it's not going to be anywhere near the same set of circumstances in scenario number 2 or 3. So again, they did do their best to kind of shake things up, not make it so repetitive, and a little bit more enjoyment for us as players. So here we go. Report of the murder.
A body washed up today on Surfside Beach. A local surfer named Brett Penance. He was found by a woman out walking her dog at dawn. Yesterday afternoon around 4, Penance told his mother he was heading out to surf the big swells coming in. Janet Penance reported her son missing at 8:30 p.m. last night. His car was found where he had been seen surfing earlier in the day. We talked to some of his surfing buddies who were with him on Friday. They all quit early because the waves were too rough. So at first we thought Penance had drowned. That was until we found the bullet hole through the left side of his chest. Now our question is, who put it there? Who would want to? Penance was a bit of a local hero, one of those golden kids who does no wrong. He was a champion surfer on his way to Stanford University this fall. Handsome, popular. He even had a full academic scholarship. A kid like this is not your usual murder target. Several of Penance's friends think it has to do with his involvement in the fight over the condo development at Fossil Cove. They all say Brett was vocally opposed to it and was fighting back hard. The permit battle has practically split the town in 2. The county coroner thinks the death was instantaneous. His friends reportedly left him at about 20 after 5. A little kid who lives on the beach thinks she heard a shot sometime just before 6. We'll know more when the autopsy is complete. We've impounded the victim's car, Detective. We've also sealed off his room at home in case there's any clues there. It's a very clever murder, boss. Whoever did it is going to be difficult to catch.
Well, I had my moments here on audio. The fact that she said, in case there's any clues there. Should be in case there are any clues there, but hey. It's my English degree coming back to, break out the red ink on the audio. Alright, so in this case, obviously, we have found out from the video we just watched that Brett was shot dead in this scenario. And while surfing, no less. So, let's see the crime scene here. Sometimes, again, like I remember when I played these games when I was younger, I've often found that I didn't spend a whole lot of time picking apart all the different elements on the crime scene. I kind of went right into the videos with the suspects and the witnesses and kind of took it from there. But again, as an adult, the more of this you analyze every little bit of something, and you get not only a deeper appreciation for the work they put into the games, but you learn some things that you otherwise wouldn't have even thought to apply to the storyline. So let's start out with guess we can go right to the chest. Doesn't allow you to do anything else, so let's see if we go for blood. No additional blood was found anywhere on the victim's body. Also, I believe this is the same deal where if you hover over the picture of Cheryl Lee, aka Lucy Farewell, that usually means that there's like a follow-up audio clip or a hint of some type that she has to give you, depending on what you're clicking on or trying to access. Let's see what this is. No additional substances or ointments found on the surface of the victim's wetsuit. See autopsy for additional information. Fingerprints. 2 unidentified sets of fingerprints other than the victim's on the torso of his wetsuit. They appear embedded in the wetsuit material and were not necessarily made at or near the time of death. Huh. Okay. So I mean, that could be something as basic as just someone, pressing up against them when they were saying goodbye or whatever. But notice Lucy's actually lit up here.
One of the crime scene guys thinks that the fingerprints may have been made by a chemical reaction with sunblock, which is generally quite corrosive. He doesn't think they're recent.
Okay. So if they're unidentified, again, it could be any of his surfer buddies or even any possible surfer girls that he came into contact with during all this. So let's back up. Let's get closer up to his face. Let's get a bit of a something there. So what's this here? There's a slight contusion along the left side of the victim's face. May have been caused by the victim falling on his surfboard. Excuse me. Okay, that's just something with the impact after he maybe was hit by the bullet. Okay, so nothing in terms of any of the other chemical analysis or anything like that. Let's see what else we got. Body position at the edge of this morning's high tide, which occurred at 4:04 a.m., indicating it was very likely washed ashore. Canine footprints within a few inches of the body, which makes sense because it was found by a woman walking her dog. Yep, belonged to Marla Waxman's dog. No human footprints initially found within more than 10 feet of the victim. What footprints there are nearby? What? What footprints there are nearby appear to be many hours old. Wow. I don't know who wrote that one. Let's see what we got here. No additional blood found on the site. Indicates the victim had stopped bleeding by the time he was carried to shore and the tide had receded. Okay. Alright, so is that really it? Alright, so I guess, let's see, there's no, nothing else really here. He was just shot. Okay. Let's go to our suspects. Okay, so, as anybody that's been following the previous cases will see, we have, out of our 9 suspects, we have yet again good old Edward Talaman here. He seems to, trouble follows him, or he follows trouble. I'm not sure which one it is. So let's start with Edward, huh?
Miss Farewell, what are you doing here? Wait a minute, don't tell me.
I'm afraid it's true, Mr. Talaman. I'm here to question you in connection with the death of a young man named Brett Penance.
Now, happily, I've never heard of him before in my life.
But I do believe you were a guest at the home of Frederick Kinsella this past week.
Why, yes. Fred lent me his guest house to polish up the screenplay for my latest movie project. It's called Attack of the Zombie Midgets. Midgets are big these days. What has this got to do with Fred?
Mr. Kinsella has been battling the local zoning board over a permit to develop at Fossil Cove Beach. There have been a number of unusual accidents occurring to people who have opposed his projects in the past. Brett Penance was one of the most vocal opponents, and now he's dead. It seems like an awful coincidence.
But you don't think I had anything to do with it, do you?
No. I have no reason to suspect you of the murder, Mr. Talaman. Can you just tell me what you were doing yesterday between 5 and 7 p.m.?
Well, I worked at my word processor until around 5:30. I had to unplug it because of the storm coming up. I started a fire downstairs and poured myself a drink. I went out with friends for dinner at 7:15. Fred pulled up just as we were leaving the house. He was coming in from New York.
Did you notice anything strange or unusual during that time?
Well, there was someone at the boathouse. I heard a boat taking off, and I couldn't believe it with the storm coming up. I went to the window. The boathouse is just a couple of 100 feet from the guest house. There was a car parked there I didn't recognize. An off-white sedan of some kind. But I can't tell you make and model.
Anything else?
No, I'm afraid not. That's all.
Thanks, Mr. Talaman. I'll be in touch if there's anything else.
Sure. You know, I'm starting to think I may be bad luck.
It's very possible. All right. So it's funny how she says she has no reason to suspect him, but here he is on the suspect list. But, all right. So again, looks like we have a kind of a variety here of different people. So let's go. I guess we'll go in this order. Let's go to Cynthia Rhodes.
Just to remind you, Detective, you've used 1 hour.
Yes.
5 left.
Still got those reminders.
Your name and occupation.
Cynthia Rhodes. I'm head of the Board of Selectmen here at South Fork. I'm also a full-time mother.
Mrs. Rhodes, what can you tell me about Brett Penance?
Mr. Penance was one of the more vocal opponents to the proposed development on Stella Gibbs' farm. He has all the passion of youth, I'm afraid, and it angered a lot of people. Someone who's never had to earn a living can afford to take extreme environmental positions.
Are you for the development?
In this case, yes, it means many jobs. And Fossil Cove has been very sensitively designed and sited. They've done it so the structures will have as little impact as possible. I'm not wildly pro-development myself. You can look at my record, Miss Farewell. But this is responsible development. I don't think it's any secret that I'm for it.
Have you heard anything about falsified hydroengineering reports submitted as part of the permit process?
Yes, there have been some insinuations. Brett Penance made some of them himself. But as public officials, we must deal with hard evidence, facts, and there were none. Anybody can make insinuations.
Did you think someone was mad enough to kill Brett over the insinuations?
Yes, and I've said so in private. The last public meeting on Tuesday got nearly violent. I have to admit that when I got the news this morning about Brett, I wasn't entirely surprised.
Where were you between 5 and 7 p.m. last night?
I was cooking most of that time. I had friends in for dinner. I got back from the market about 5:30 and cooked until everyone arrived 2 hours later. Both of my children were home and can verify that.
Thank you, Mrs. Rhodes. We'll be in touch if there are any other questions.
You're welcome. I'll be happy to answer any of them.
Okay. So this one has like a lot of layers to it, where there's multiple angles that one could come at as far as why this young man is dead, and whether it's for political reasons, as we'll soon discover. There could be like just some, there could be politics, it could be some type of romantic reasoning, or just good old-fashioned hatred. Let's try Braxton Smith.
relation to the deceased?
My name is Braxton Smith, and I knew Brett from the fight to prevent the Kinsella development at Fossil Cove.
You're on the same side?
Yes. My husband's family place, the Smith farm, is right next to the Gibbs farm. Brett and I got involved. We became friends when we both joined the fight to try to stop it.
Miss Smith, there's some talk that you had become personally involved with Brett Penance.
It's idle talk. People just say that because my husband works in the city and I'm alone here with the kids all week. Look, Brett and I were spending a lot of time together, and we did become close friends.
When did you last see the victim alive?
At the permit hearing 2 nights ago.
Who would want to kill someone like Brett Penance?
Someone who's mean and sick. Someone like Frederick Kinsella.
Can you tell me your whereabouts last night between 5 and 7?
I left the house at around 4:30 to run some errands. I went to the vegetable stand and the post office. And then I went to my health club to work out, and I left in time to catch my husband's flight at 6:45.
Thank you. We'll be in touch if we have more questions.
I hope you find his killer.
That one right off the bat, just like, we got involved. I mean, makes you wonder. And now let's go on to this charming-looking gentleman, Jason Turley. Just looks like a hoot.
Your name and occupation?
Jason Turley, I surf.
You surf for a living?
No, but I'm taking the summer off before I go back to school.
Did you know Brett Penance?
Yeah, and we weren't the best of friends, as you probably heard. That's why you're asking me questions, right? You think I killed him, don't you?
Mr. Turley, someone has stepped forward to say that you had recently threatened Brett's life. We have to investigate any such reports.
Yeah, well, I can tell you one thing. Brett had no business getting involved in something that was between me and Andrea. It was our problem and we were dealing with it. Man, Penance was such a pain sometimes. Always trying to save the world, acting like he was God. Like that permit fight, right? What a joke.
My understanding, Mr. Turley, was that you were assaulting your girlfriend, and that Brett Penance stopped you.
Hey, if I was assaulting my girlfriend, how come she didn't call the police? Huh? How come we're still going out? That was Penance for you, always sticking his nose into where it didn't belong. Frankly, I'm not surprised this came down for him.
Mr. Turley, where were you between 5 and 7 p.m. last night?
I was on my way back here from the city. I had to go in and see the doc for the planner's ward on my heel. Next question?
That will be all for now. We'll be in touch once we've checked your alibi.
Sounds fine to me. Stay cool, babe.
He reminds me so much, and not just just the look. But if anybody is a fan of the old UK version of Whose Line Is It Anyway, there was a British comedian named Tony Slattery. Totally gives off Tony Slattery vibes, and even when he's talking and leaning into being kind of a douchey character, just that kind of a level acting. So yeah, that shows again potential just for a rival in the surfing community. And now we're going to go to Frederick Kinsella, who's been mentioned a couple of times already by both Braxton Smith and Cynthia Rhodes as far as this land development deal that Brett was in opposition to.
Excuse me, there are 4 hours remaining. Have you tried retracing the victim's route?
Nope, haven't gotten there yet. We'll get through all the witness videos and then we'll call it a day for first installment. But okay, yeah, as one would expect, and this is good thinking on the creator's part, this land developer is lawyered up for his interview.
Your name and occupation.
Frederick Kinsella. I develop real estate. I'm doing a project out here at South Fork, at the Fossil Cove Beach.
Mr. Kinsella, What can you tell me about Brett Penance?
Nothing. He was one of a number of people that were trying to fight my development. I never spoke with the man.
According to my information, over 700 people have signed a petition against Fossil Cove. In a town of only 2,300 registered voters. Do you call that a small number?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Kinsella, there have been a number of unfortunate accidents suffered by people who have opposed your developments in the past. I believe one woman actually disappeared and is presumed dead. Do you find it odd that Mr. Penance has also been a victim of foul play?
Why?
My client does not have to answer that question. It's a leading question, Miss Farewell. Frederick Kinsella has not been indicted.
Yes, that's correct. I only wanted Mr. Kinsella's opinion. Mr. Kinsella, can you tell me your whereabouts between 5 and 7 p.m. last night?
Go ahead.
Of course. I was at my Manhattan office till about 5:30. My driver, Paul, then took me to an opening of an art gallery, the Turner Lewis Gallery. Stayed there for about an hour, whereupon Paul took me to the South Street Seaport, where I caught a seaplane out here to South Fork for the weekend.
Thank you. That will be all for now.
My pleasure, Detective.
Very quick and matter of fact in his answers, and obviously the lawyer knew where to cut things off. So, on to the next one. A Margaret Hardin. Okay.
Your name and occupation.
Margaret Hardin. I'm a real estate broker here in South Fork. I was born here and went away for a while. I came back last year.
What do you know about Brett Penance?
He's Janet and Jack Penance's son. Jack died when he was just a boy. Janet's raised him on her own. She's turned him into quite the little environmentalist.
Would you say Brett was having success persuading the Board of Selectmen to refuse the permit for Fossil Cove?
Not really. His allegations at the last meeting about the hydrology reports was a bit desperate, in my opinion.
But if he could prove those allegations, the permit would probably be withheld, correct?
Probably. Yes. But he didn't have any proof, as far as I know.
Miss Hardin, why did you go not once, but twice, to Brett Penance's place of work to ask questions about him?
I knew you'd get to this. If you want the God's truth, I was hoping to talk to the kid. Things were getting out of hand. I was hoping I could help him see there was another side to the picture on this thing. Brett Penance saw everyone who was involved with this project as some kind of monster. So, I went to his job and talked to his friends to try to figure him out a little, figure out an approach. That's all.
Miss Hardin, is it true that you are the registered broker for the Fossil Cove project?
Yes, but I did not kill this boy thinking it might help with commissions.
Where were you between 5 and 7 p.m. yesterday evening?
I was showing a couple of men from out of town some real estate. They're brothers, I think. Their name is Elias, and they were staying at the Hyde Inn. I dropped them off at around 7:15. I'd been with them since 4.
Thank you for your help.
You're welcome.
Okay, so someone else again that's involved in some aspect of this land development deal and would potentially want Brett dead because of him getting in the way of, I guess, as she said, her commissions, even though she said that she wouldn't go to that extent. But she is going to his place of work, potentially trying to either learn about him or potentially intimidate him, or both. Let's see, Amos Johnson.
Your name and occupation.
I am Miss Johnson. I'm a civil engineer with my own firm. We employ about 11 other engineers.
Mr. Johnson, are you familiar with Brett Penance?
How can I not be?
What do you mean?
Brett Penance accused me of falsifying documents and results related to my hydroengineering project for Frederick Kinsella on the Fossil Cove project. He did it in a public hearing.
Did you?
Of course not. Besides, where's the proof?
Mr. Johnson, what would happen if an engineer had intentionally falsified his or her findings?
They'd lose their license, not to mention their reputation.
Which would be an adequate motive for a murder, wouldn't you say?
it might be for some people if they had falsified the documents. Now, is that all, Miss,
Farewell. Almost. Can you tell me your whereabouts from 5 to 7 p.m. yesterday evening?
I was working at my office until about 5:30. Then I drove around in my car for a while. I've been having personal problems and I needed some time to think.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Johnson. We'll be in touch when we have other questions.
Yes, you're welcome.
Nice personable type. I couldn't tell if that's just him being in character, or every time he'd look to his left, if he was getting glances at Kenny cue cards with bullet points of what he needed to say. But again, now someone else again, like I'll give the kudos to the developers of the game. Like, they thought of multiple angles to a particular scenario where if you have a land development deal, you've got all these different specs that need to be drawn up by different people. You have someone like Margaret who's actually like showing the land and potentially getting the sales done. You have like the board or people that are in the town that are either all for it or against it, and all the infighting that can go on at meetings. So they, it's not just one potential person that could be, driven to murder over something like this anyway. So let's go to Al Ciprano, or Ciprano.
Detective, you're halfway there. The autopsy should be ready by now, shouldn't they?
Shouldn't they? I know we have more than one autopsy because there's going to be 3 different ways the guy's murdered, but we're only going to see one of them at the end of all this.
Your name and occupation.
Al Ciprano. I'm a contractor here in South Fork.
Mr. Soprano, what was your relationship to Brett Penance?
Well, we were on opposite sides of the battle for the building permit for Fossil Cove. I'm the contractor on that project. He seemed like a nice kid. I'm sorry about what happened to him.
Are you aware that on 3 separate occasions, people opposed to Frederick Kinsella developments have been injured or have disappeared?
No, well, Mr. Kinsella's a tough businessman, but he's not that kind of guy. He's not going to get involved with stuff like that. Not him. Not funny stuff.
Do you know anyone else who might want Brett Penance dead?
Well, not in particular. I think tempers have got a little too heated in this whole thing, if you ask me. It's just business.
Has your temper ever gotten out of hand, Mr. Soprano?
What do you mean?
We have a report that you told Brett Penance he would get himself killed if he didn't watch out.
I'm not proud of that. I shouldn't have said it. I felt badly afterwards. I almost called Brett to apologize. But I didn't kill him.
Mr. Soprano, what were you doing yesterday between 5 and 7 p.m.?
I was over at the site on Ways Lane till about 5:45. Then I stopped at Bert's Burgers for a bite. It was raining like hell then. And then I stopped off to examine a paint job we're doing over Portico Road. That must have been about 6:20. And from there I took the paint crew over for some beers over at the summer house. And then from there I was home with the wife and kids at about 8 o'clock.
Thank you for your time. We'll be in touch if we have more questions.
Okay, if I'm not here, I'll be over at the site.
Okay. Well, notwithstanding the very quick cut there, if you noticed, after you said I didn't kill him, and then obviously they cut to him the next set of questions or what have you, but it wasn't fluid. Not sure if that's done because of, again, how we're dealing with 2 other scenarios in the other murders. Maybe his answer or the way that this video interview was edited, they had to chop something out of there. Also, again, it's interesting. They don't, as far as I remember, they don't mention Al's stutter, speech impediment, what have you, in the storyline at all. And it's kind of, sometimes it's there, sometimes it isn't. It's not even like when he's agitated or anything. It just kind of comes and goes. So it's like, is that the character, or is that actually the actor having that element? Very strange. Well, not strange, just inquisitive, I guess, on my part. Alright, so the last interview, or the last suspect interview, I should say, is Stella Gibbs. Looks like a lovely young lady.
Your name and occupation?
Well, I'm Stella Gibbs. I used to farm before my husband Owen died. Now, that was 5 years ago. Now I just keep a vegetable garden. Well, potato farming's too much work for a woman alone, and none of the kids are interested in farming.
Mrs. Gibbs, what can you tell me about Brett Penance?
That he was a young whippersnapper with a too high opinion of himself. Now, he was fighting the sale of my land, trying to stop the permit from going through.
You own the land at Fossil Cove?
Yes. Well, Fred Kinsella's given me a nice down payment, but the sale isn't final till the permit's in place. And let me tell you one thing. People who are 18 years old have no right trying to tell a body what they can or can't do with the land they have worked all their lives. Now, nobody can. And that's the trouble with all these folks from out of town. They think that once they're here, nothing else has got the right to change.
But Brett Penance was born here.
Well, yes, but he got his ideas from someplace else. Now, things change, and people just have to accept it. And I'll take this thing all the way to the Supreme Court in Washington, but I am selling my land to whoever I please, and what they do with it is their business, nobody else's.
Mrs. Gibbs, where were you between 5 and 7 p.m. last night?
I was here at home. I cooked supper and ate at 5:30, watched the 6 o'clock news, and then I worked on my quilt squares until I turned in at 8 o'clock. Well, you can ask my son, Owen Jr. He was here the whole time. We still keep farmers' hours.
Do you know anyone who might want Brett Penance dead?
If this is one of those trick questions, Ms. Farewell, I guess you'll just have to find some other fool to trick. No, I don't know anyone who would kill Brett Penance just because they wanted to build condos.
Thank you for your time, Mrs. Gibbs.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. Well, so that one, that's the actual person whose land is involved in this whole deal, and she obviously wants to cash out and go on her merry way, and Brett was standing in the way of that. Obviously, from what she said, she didn't appreciate it. So, all but Edward, everybody here has their own kind of unique connection to, well, I guess not Jason, but everybody else has a connection of some sort to Brett and this whole land deal. And in Braxton's case, it sounds like it could just be that this whole land deal is maybe what brought them together romantically. So, and no highlights from Lucy. So we've got all the suspect interviews done. So I think with that, we are now at about the 45-minute mark on this first video for this particular case of the environmental surfer. So I'm going to leave that here. So we've got everything up to the suspects completed. So when we have our next video, we'll start off with our witness videos, and go from there to gather our alibis, see how much we can fit into all of this, because again, like I said, each of these cases now there's more layers to them because of the circumstances of the murder being different. So there are some things that we used to be able to skip because the information never really changed from the murderer. So we'll have to obviously a lot more time to some of these details that are going to be following each particular case. So with that, I will be signing off. Again, this is Beacon of Hype. thanking you for tuning in, and I will hopefully see you soon. Take care.